Hi everyone, I have a sample infographic for you here and I wanted to point out some things that I really like about it so that you can use it as a sample when you're creating your own infographics using Piktochart. I'm also going to post the link so you can take a closer look at it yourself. So we have this infographic on the Zika virus. So something I noticed really quickly is that they have a very consistent set of colors. They have a theme. So they have this beige or grayish background and they use red and black to represent things in here, maybe a little gray. So those are their main colors. I really like that they're consistent with their font. So you can see that here where you see what is it, where is it, and I really like that they're using pictures and words to mean something, to say something to the audience. Realistically, there's not one way to make an infographic, so I'm going to point out some things that I think will work for your infographic this time. You want to choose a font that is easy to read. Again, you want it to be really obvious, to follow grammatical rules, and you want to choose a color that's easy to read. Red is iffy. This red it's okay because it has a white background, but we're gonna want to test that out. I would still stray away from red unless it's ultimately necessary. You want a title that's going to stand out like this one does, and you want us to know from looking at the title what we're going to learn from the infographic. So as we go through this, you're going to notice that there are different amounts of words depending on what's being said. So for what is it, there's a little, a sentence or two, and there's a picture to go with it. I'm assuming that from the pictures that it has something to do with mosquitoes, and that circle represents a virus. So I'm thinking it represents something like that. As I go down, I see that there's a map and there's a timeline to represent some information. This is the number of cases and how these cases have sort of traveled throughout our world. We have some information that is including a graph. They've chosen to use a different font and to make these fonts big and bold. This graph is definitely not perfect. It's missing some titles for the X, the Y axis, the title of the graph, but it's a great way to show the increase in number of cases in this way, and also using that map. We are looking at some of the symptoms here. So there's pictures and words, there's cartoons, and there's diagrams that are more scientific. You have some information about how it's transmitted or how it's passed on. Some info on symptoms, so more cartoony. But you definitely have some symptoms in its location in the body. I really like that. Something I want to point out right here is that there are no bullet points for this, for infographics. You must create them using a visual. So I really like that they used a light bulb to do that here. And then the last thing I really want to point out to you is that they've listed their sources. Although they list their sources in links, and that might be okay for this kind of situation, you're doing this for an academic project and it is required that you use MLA citations. So the research that you have cited in your research table, those should be cited there correctly using MLA format. So it should be in there. I just want to point out that this infographic is not perfect. There's not one way to make an infographic. But as I look through this infographic, it's easy to read. It catches my attention with pictures. They have gone through and looked for grammar. Things are spelled correctly. And that's definitely something you're going to want to do for a formal project. So I'll post this link on Haiku, but here's a sample of one type of an infographic that you can use as a sample.